why do you think Andy Reid's mustache works so well? And this is particularly important to me now because we hired Arthur Smith, who's got a mustache, and I don't think it works as well on Arthur Smith.
And it's also not a permanent staple with Arthur Smith, right? He's gone clean shaven too.
Yeah, that's true.
I do think so. There are a couple aspects, in my opinion, to a good mustache. One, I think to have like the real Andy Reid mustache, you got to have a good distance between your upper lip and your nose. I shouldn't show you on myself because I'm not a good example. Hence, I don't have a mustache. But like you've got to, those hairs have got to be able to get like a decent length and still not be like completely obstructing your lip. The other thing too, I think, is you need to have a nice like even. So like for example, if my mustache grows, you'll get it over the lip here, but not as much on the sides. That looks terrible. Like it's got to kind of grow down evenly if you are going to cover your lip, which is a risky proposition, I'll say. Like maybe you should just keep it off the lip. But if you are, it needs to kind of come down evenly. I think those two aspects are very, very important. And of course, there's got to be like a thickness to it. You know, if you can't grow a thick mustache, that's going to be kind of hard for it to look good.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. I would not attempt that. It's all patchy anyway. Um, do you think
If
there's
I
anything
could, wait,
personality-wise? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
well, if I could say one other mustache thing, just because I feel like there was when Andy Reid's mustache froze over in the game against the Dolphins, there was a lot of speculation that this was snot, and it was not snot. I feel like we need, the basic physics lesson for everyone that like when it is that cold, your breath, the vapor from your breath will condense and then freeze. So this was just water that was coming as he was breathing and freezing on his mustache. It was not like he had a ton of snot just like full in his mustache. That's all just water from his normal breathing. If you're that cold and you have a mustache, you will experience it too.
That's a good clarification, right? Wait, it needs like little places to condense on, right? And you got a lot right there, right? So of course, yeah, that seems like a natural thing to happen. I have never experienced it myself, but I can see it happening. So clearly, yeah, he was not. Yeah, there was no snot all over his face. Um, do you think there's anything about his personality that sort of like lends legitimacy to the mustache? He does feel like he's like it looks like he doesn't take his appearance too seriously, right? And I think maybe the mustache complements that nicely.
Yeah, I think and in fact, one of the things that happened during the game, there was audio. I don't remember which player said this to him. No, I've forgotten. But one of the players sitting on the sideline was like, "Coach, you got your mustache is frozen over," and he turned to them and said something to the effect of like, "Oh, I know. Like this is a football game, not a beauty pageant." So I
That's
feel like that
good.
goes
Yeah.
right into what you were saying.
That's just
But
who he
yeah,
is, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's who he is. And I do think though there's also a certain ruggedness of personality that also matches with the mustache. I think, Andy Reid does kind of, it's like when you think of mustache, you think of someone like Nick Offerman as Ron Swanson or Tom Selleck, like, those people that are like have a certain rugged quality to them. And though he is kind of goofy and round, and I do think there is in personality a little bit of ruggedness, that kind of leadership, trust in authority that you get with Andy Reid, that I think also the mustache works really well.
Yeah, yeah. He does pull it off fantastically. I think as good as one can do it, essentially.
I
Um,
actually, sorry to, I keep extending
no,
these questions, but
this is
uh,
a good, yeah, this is a good topic.
the, to exemplify a mustache personality, Dustin Colquitt came on a podcast a couple weeks ago on the Kansas City Sports Network, and he was telling a story about Andy Reid. And I don't want to belabor it too much, but the basic point of the story was this was Dustin's first, no, not Dustin, Andy's first year in Kansas City. Dustin had been there for a couple years. Um, but it was first time working with Andy Reid. He didn't know how it was going to go. And in a practice that year, Dave Tobe was insisting that Dustin take some punts before the portion of practice that they were going to use for film. And Dustin Colquitt didn't want to because he kept saying, like, when we actually have the documented practice, I'm going to be tired and my practice isn't going to go well. I'm going to be negatively graded. I don't want to do it. I didn't, that was my understanding. You know, it was a little jargony, so maybe there's more complexity to it, but that's what I took from it. And they started like actually going at it with each other in practice, and Andy Reid like stops and was like, hey, like what's going on? And Dustin said it was kind of the idea of like I got enough shit going on. You're the punter. Like why am I here? Like why are you guys yelling basically? Like, and so he was kind of like, man, it's early, like I'm gonna get in trouble. And then sure enough, after the practice, someone came up and tapped him, was like, coach wants to see you in his office. And he was like, oh crap. And he goes to his office, and Andy was like, what happened? Like, what was going on? And he told him the story, like, you know, I didn't want to do it then. He was trying to make me do it. And apparently all Andy said to him was, well, you know, it takes an ego to stay in this league. And he was like, all right, get out of here. And he let him go. I was like to me, that's a mustache personality. You know, you don't have to
Yeah,
say that much. You gotta have the authority. You know how to handle the situation. Then it moves on. Like,
that's good. Yeah, you gotta have a lot of like sort of perspective there, right? Not just like the nitty-gritty of what this argument was, but like I don't need to say too much to resolve this, right? I'm just gonna, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
great.
exactly, exactly. And you know, like what to say and how to view it, and yeah.
I could take a lesson from that. Yeah.